There was a very interesting moment. We got a question from Senator Warner, top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, who asked if there was additional information about Russia disseminating these conspiracy theories that the president and Rudy Giuliani were spreading about Ukraine, that we're now seeing spread in the U.S. Senate by the president's lawyers and by some other Republican senators. And Schiff responded by saying, yes, we do have additional information about that. We've got, there's information about that in Jennifer Williams' classified supplement to her testimony, and you should all go read that. And then he said, there's a second body of information about it. There is a second body of intelligence information that the Senate should see. A second body of intelligence that has been provided to the intelligence committees that you senators should see. We should figure out a mechanism that would permit you to do so because it's directly relevant to the issues that we have been discussing. He's saying there is Russia-related information here that the intelligence committees have that you guys haven't looked at yet. Want to see it? And it's this. We don't know what he's talking about. I don't know if you know what he's talking about. If you did, you probably couldn't tell us.
Well, I can't tell you. I don't know for a fact, and so I don't have any inside information, but that has to be a reference to something he referred to a couple weeks ago, which is the National Security Agency. So the NSA, its job is to gather information, and a lot of it overseas, not domestically, but overseas. So, you know, I don't know that they have done this specifically, but if I were, let's say, back in the Department of Justice and I was trying to figure out what's going on in Ukraine or any other foreign country for that matter, that's a good place to go because they scoop up enormous amounts of data.
And Chairman Schiff is saying that he believes that the NSA has been told by the White House to not hand over the relevant information they've got on Ukraine to Congress, and he's alerting the Senate to that fact.
And the key thing that I could see him wanting people to see is this argument that, you know, Ukraine didn't really know what was going on with the aid and when it was held up. That's precisely the kind of thing that you could imagine a national security agency would have its hands on.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.